Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about doing the overhead press and a point I made in a video the other day about the way that you grip the bar and the way that affects the bar path and why it's stupid to do it the other way, both in terms of your gains and in terms of safety and injury prevention. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright, and something I want to say up front, every time I do a video discussing this, I get people who come down in the comments and they want to argue with me. They want to tell me that some other YouTube channel that they respect and listen to, or someone who wrote an article, or some person that they know gave them the advice and said that the other way to do it is the best way to do it and that I'm wrong. I don't want to argue with you people. I really and truly do not give a fuck if someone else disagrees with it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't give a fuck. The person who said that can suck my dick. You can suck my dick. And then you can take turns sucking Bagpuss's dick. Now, my rant being said, let me grab my pimp cane here. And let's look at this. Alright, the first thing you're going to notice, I prefer a narrow grip on any sort of overhead press unless you're doing it for specific other reasons. I'm not going to get into all that today. But for the vast majority of people, a relatively narrow grip is going to be better if you're trying to do it as a proper compound movement, meaning you're trying to work multiple exercises, the triceps and more than one head of the delt. Because that's why we do compounds for the most part, unless you need to kind of isolate one head and you're doing it as a sport-specific movement like a cock glove press, which is very, very wide grip behind the neck as some Olympic lifters do. Most people don't necessarily need that lift, so that's very sport specific to their sport. And it's not to say it can't be used by them, it is a different animal, it's done for a different purpose. Now, I prefer the narrower grip because of the shearing stresses upon the shoulders and, again, tricep recruitment. Now, the problem you run into when you're using a barbell and you're doing this overhand grip, I like the barbell, but I will say that if you're going to use a thumbs over grip, dumbbells may be safer once you get them safely into position. I think it's getting them into position that causes people to get injured. So I don't like dumbbells. And that's because your hands are locked into place and you're locked into an unnatural movement. And you'll notice that it's very hard to keep your elbows in, like I'm straining not to flare them. So you come down, it's very, very hard to touch your chest this way. Unless you have a lot of weight to push it down, it puts shearing stress on the shoulders doing so. But when you come up, your elbows flare out almost immediately. And you'll notice that it's hard to keep them in, which puts the shearing stress upon the shoulders because of the way it locks your wrists in. It makes it difficult to recruit the triceps and turn it into a true press without flaring. And it also puts the shearing stress on your wrists, so it tends to hurt your wrists. And it leads to risk of rotator cuff injury there due to the flaring. And then here's the other thing to look at. When you come down here, you notice how much rotational stress I'm getting. I haven't even touched my chest yet. But when you do this grip, this false grip, with the wrist back a little bit, you actually find, believe it or not, that it feels better on your wrist when you're going heavy. Not because of the way the bottom of it, because when you're going up, you can keep the elbows in more. And what that does, you'll notice when I come down, I can get a deeper stretch with less rotational stress because of the bar pulled further back. There's less rotational shearing force put upon the rotator cuffs. So the same amount of weight, you can get that deep stretch at the bottom to get that interior delt and even the upper chest working a little better without putting quite as much shearing stress on the rotator cuff. And then when you come up, it's a more natural bar path. You notice there's more of an arc to it and you can get the triceps into it more, whereas in down here, it isn't quite as natural of a bar path. And it's more of a straight line rather than an arc. And you'll notice from the front, notice how easy it is to keep the elbows in, and that lets you use a very heavy weight out of the bottom because you're in a proper stretch position. You can use that stretch reflex off of the interior deltoids and the upper pecs to get it started, so you get more recruitment there, and it lets you really get the tricep into it a lot better right about here because the elbows are in and you can power it up harder. So what it lets you do once you get used to doing the movement, it will let you use more weight because of more tricep involvement. And on a compound movement, more overall weight due to something like a secondary mover being able to generate more force will let you put more force and fiber recruitment on the other muscles you're trying to work, such as the deltoids. But it lets you do so without as much risk of injury. So you're looking at the ability to use a slightly heavier weight once you get the technique down, with less risk of damaging the wrist or the rotator cuffs. So that being said, more weight, less injury. This is an all-around win situation. And that is why I recommend people doing it that way. It's a very minor difference, but you'll notice the bar path and the shoulder rotation is completely different when you change that grip. Whereas you can get around that with dumbbells because they spin freely, and on a proper shoulder press with a dumbbell, you're not actually completely running a straight line between your palms. You'll actually have them slightly pronated because that is the natural position for a proper bar path with them. But with the dumbbell being fixed, you'll find that your natural bar path will come if you do that false grip, just racked back slightly. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time.